Hi everyone, it's Tracy here from Temperance Tarot, and this is video number 2 in my series of how I read tarot for myself. Today's video is about my tarot routine and how I choose the decks that I choose to pull cards from as part of that routine. So let's get started. I do have a few notes down here, so if you see me looking down, I'm just trying not to miss anything. I have developed a routine with how I use my cards so that I'm not just doing the same thing over and over, and I'm actually using them in a way that brings me a good deal of joy and comfort. And this is just what I do for me. I'm not saying for anybody else to do it this way. I'm just telling you how I do it and what works for me so that we can just share, and I'd love to hear how you do it. These routines that I follow they have lots of different purposes. They're for me to get to know my decks better. They're for me to learn about myself, obviously, and just to use the plethora of decks that I have, because let's face it, I have a lot of decks. So each Sunday, sometimes Monday, I do a 3-card draw for myself. I'm trying out some different spreads right now. I haven't found one that I use every week, so I'm trying out several different spreads. I have a few favorites right now. There's one from the Tarot Fauna guidebook that I only have a digital copy of that guidebook, that's called No Show Grow, and it's, a card for what you need to know right now, a card for what you should be doing or demonstrating right now, and a card for how or what you should grow in yourself right now. And I really love that tarot spread. I've also, this week, the last couple weeks, I've been trying one, but it's not really a 3-card spread. It's like it's 3 1-card spreads. And I pull a card for home and family, a card for work, and a card for spirituality. And that's kind of what I'm doing with my 3-card spreads. For the 3-card spread, I do use a deck that I don't plan to use for the rest of the week, because I do leave the cards out for the whole week so that I'm constantly looking at them. Well, constantly. I'm leaving them in my reading room. I work in an office, so I'm not constantly looking at them. But I am at least looking at them once or twice a day. And so I don't want to use a deck that I want to use later in the week, because then I'd have to, anyway, you get it. And what I do, let me go get it right here. I have this little, you can see, this is this week's spread. My work card is the Devil. That I'm a little concerned about that. This is a little, it really goes this way, but I use it the opposite way. I got this little thing at a craft show. It's designed for bridge players to hold their hands, because for bridge, you have to hold a lot of cards, and let's face it, older people play bridge, and it starts to hurt your hand. So this was designed to hold your bridge hand. But I use it to set up my 3-card spread for the week and set it out so it doesn't take up a whole lot of space, and so that I can see it. And you can see this week, I pulled the Gill Tarot. I pulled the Gill Tarot for my 3-card spread. For my 3-card spread, I am generally using the most recent deck that I've fallen in love with. So when I do my 3-card spreads, I write them in this journal, which I was pointed out actually has Lenormand cards on the front of it. It has, suggestions for 3-card spreads and places to write stuff, and then places to reflect. And I do try to come back every day and write something in the daily reflections, but not always. But I definitely am a believer in writing stuff down. In general, I don't pick a Rider-Waite-Smith deck for my 3-card spread. This is where I'm going to use something that's a little more complicated, or something I'm not quite as familiar with, or something with a really good meaty guidebook. Because I'm going to contemplate this spread for a whole week, and I might come back day after tomorrow and sit down with the book and read a little bit about it. Not always, because I have the Gill Tarot book, and it's full of Kabbalah, and I'm not Kabbalah. I just read this one straight up. So, but this is where I would use my decks that I'm not as familiar with and that aren't as Rider-Waite and have a good meaty guidebook. yeah, I think next week I'm probably going to pull out Benabelle's Spirit Keepers Tarot for this one. So we'll see. For my daily draw spread, I try to do this first thing in the morning, or not first thing in the morning, but basically last thing before I leave to go to work. And I don't have a whole lot of time in the mornings because I do go to work at about 6:45. So this is where I tend to use my Rider-Waite-Smith decks. My decks that I'm very familiar with, my decks that, you know, I can look at a card at a glance and I got it. So this week I've been using the Mechelen Tarot, and this is the most adorable little tarot deck. And it's a straight up Rider-Waite-Smith clone, and it's fabulous for my daily draws. I do tend to post my daily draws to Instagram as well. Then in the evenings, I do my Instagram challenge pulls, and I'm usually participating in 2 Instagram challenges a month. And I really love Instagram challenges. Just in case you don't know what an Instagram challenge is, I'm sure most people do, there are content creators out on Instagram who will post a list of questions for you to answer over the course of a month, and you pull cards to determine the answers. Most of them have a theme of some sort. Generally with the Instagram challenges, I pull 1 card for a question, unless the creator has suggested pulling more than 1 card, and I take a picture of it. I write the question and the answer in the comments, and I post it to Instagram, although you don't have to. Sometimes it's just great to journal about these particular Instagram challenge questions. I personally like a straightforward Instagram challenge where you've got a question for a day and a question for a day, and you don't have to tie back to different questions or do anything complicated. Those are my favorite kinds of Instagram challenges, but there are all kinds of Instagram challenges out there and all kinds of people putting them out there. And if you aren't doing Instagram challenges and you want to start doing them, I recommend that you follow an account on Instagram called Divination Challenges. That's divination.challenges. She reposts everybody's challenges, and if you just follow her, you'll be able to find a challenge that really suits you and suits your needs and what you want to do with it. I like a good solid theme in my Instagram challenges, and right now I'm doing one for February that's about how to say no. I have created challenges myself, but there are just so many of them out there that I just don't feel that it's really necessary for me to create challenges. Plus, like I said, I like a good theme, and I just have been kind of uninspired in the theme category lately. So I love writing the prompts, but I need help coming up with the themes. So if anybody has some ideas for a theme and they want me to host an Instagram challenge, I'll be happy to. Just stick them down in the comments below. Now, choosing my decks for Instagram challenges, this is where I pull out my new decks. The decks that I want to see if they're going to fit in my collection, or they might be older decks, but they're decks that I'm evaluating to see if they're going to stay in my collection. Because if you've watched me for any length of time, you know I do these monthly roundups where I go through the decks that I've used in the month, and then I decide whether I'm going to keep them or whether they're going to go out of my collection. And these are the decks that generally end up in those roundups, are the monthly Instagram challenge decks. And some of the decks that I've used this month for my Instagram challenges, which you will see in my monthly roundup at the end of February, are the Intuitive Tarot, the Star Child Tarot, Crystal Unicorn Tarot, and the Silhouettes Tarot. So look for those in my monthly roundup. Find out how I liked them. Then there are the bigger readings that I do less frequently, but do on a regular basis, like my New Year spread. Now my New Year spread, I don't like the year ahead spread where you just do, you know, a card for each month, and I just don't find that resonates with me. What I do is actually a variation on a spread created by Katey Flowers. I will try to remember to put the link to that video below. It's been a couple of years since she did that. But those are more, it's not January is this and February is this. It's more, what do I need to be paying attention to for the year ahead? What do I need to release? That sort of thing. And then I also generally do a spread on my birthday. But since my birthday falls close within almost a month of the new year, I'm really looking for a good birthday spread that's different from my New Year spread. And I haven't found it yet. But I do a spread on my birthday. I keep trying different ones. but I haven't found the one spread yet for that. And the decks that I tend to use for the big annual spreads are decks that I'm very familiar with and I love very much. You might call them my soul decks. The two that come to mind right off the bat are the Lion's Gateway Tarot. This might be my new favorite deck of all time. I've done a walk. Did I do a walkthrough of this? I'm not sure. I think I did. If I haven't, I will. And my Ellis deck. And I have 3 copies of the Ellis deck. This is a standard, I can't even remember, it's the 3rd edition, I think, on paper, that's standard tarot size. I have the giant one in plastic too, which is great, but takes up a lot of space on your table. Then finally, there are the specific tarot spreads that I do for a very specific issue or a problem. I generally plan these out pretty well and look for a spread that already exists or to modify, because I never seem to use a spread exactly as it's written. Or I will create a new spread specifically for the question or issue at hand. I do try to take my time with these. I don't read when I'm in a very emotional state. And I try to take my time developing a spread and analyzing the results. You know, I know I always just seem to want a quick fix. I want an answer, I want it to go away, something like that. But I've really found with these spreads that it's better for me to slow down, breathe, ground, take my time, figure out exactly what I want to know, and do a really comprehensive reading. This is also when I tend to use my oracle cards, because if I am upset about a situation or a problem, the first thing, you know, I want to figure it out, I want to do a reading, I will come home and I will pull out some oracle cards to sort of ground and center me, connect me to spirit, and make me feel better so that I can then move on to do the tarot reading. Then once I have the spread planned out, then I'll pick a deck. And this would be another situation where I would pick a really favorite deck that I'm very familiar with and brings me a good deal of comfort. When it comes to these kinds of spreads, with these kinds of issues or these kinds of readings, I really don't want to be struggling to figure out what the cards mean because I am not familiar with the deck or because it's not the system that I'm used to. In these kind of situations, it's really important to me to use those decks that are my foundation decks, my really stable decks. So like the Ellis deck and the Lion's Gateway, there were a couple more that I thought of that would be really good for this kind of reading. My Delos Tarot, and I have a French edition of the Golden Rider, or any one of my Rider-Waite-Smith decks, but this one I particularly like. So there you have it. This is my reading routine, how I read and how I pick my decks for my readings. I would love to know how you read for yourself, how you pick decks, what kind of routines you follow when it comes to reading tarot cards for yourself. Make a video response. Make sure you let me know, or comments down below. I can't wait to hear. Thanks everybody for watching, and have a fabulous day.